And Jimmy, what do you think? Looking at this, watching the $1.9 trillion, knowing it's probably not going to be that big, what do you think eventually works its way out of this?
Yeah, I think a lot of money is going to get spent, and I'm 100% sure it will get spent. It's not going to be 1.9 trillion. I think the more that the Biden administration thinks it can get without Republicans, I think the bigger it's going to get. We start wanting to get Republican votes. It seems like they want this thing to be bipartisan, and they prefer not to use this reconciliation bill right away. Then I think at that point you're getting something under $1 trillion. I think you're not going to get any Republican votes if this thing's over $1 trillion. So no 1.9 trillion. So that stuff in that original package might get pushed off later. But it's still going to be. Let's not forget, we just passed a $900 billion bill. And a lot of Republicans are looking at that. Look at these forecasts that show that the economy should be picking up either way. So that kind of kills the economic rationale a little bit. But we're still getting a pretty big bill.
You know, you look at some of the components, and I would guess the parts that are less partisan would be the issues like the COVID vaccine program, additional testing to get that out, the additional PPE when we still have shortages, and maybe the schools, although I don't know if that's going to get contentious. But the big issues are probably going to be, first of all, $1,400 direct checks to everybody who's already getting a $600 check. And then the state and local government aids, that $350 billion they're targeting for that, that's been a political hot potato all the way along. Of those two, which do you think would potentially get more bipartisan support?
Well, there already are Republicans who are in favor of the checks. So you can see, I think, who knows, maybe this thing gets, chopped into two bills, and the one bill has stuff they think they can get some extra Republican votes on. So you mentioned the stuff helping with the vaccinations, the testing. If you add in the $1,400 checks, Republicans are very skeptical about the state and local, as you mentioned. So at some point, Democrats have to do that. That is a must. The things Democrats, I think, really absolutely need to do, they're sort of all in on these checks. They have to do the checks. They have to do the unemployment insurance extension. And at some point, they need to do that to state and local government. Whether they really need $300 or $400 billion, I'm a little skeptical of. But that has to happen, whether it's and I think they would prefer to do it in this bill, which means maybe they have to give some Republicans some of what they want, whether it's this liability shield. We start adding in, do we start extending tax cuts, or really adding to the complexity of what is already a fairly complex legislative process, but they'll have to give Republicans something.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.